Alright, it's final project time, let's get started. So for my topic, I chose to do Imperial Japan. Yay! So Imperial Japan, it was a period of industrialization and militarization, and it's the fastest known modernization of any country to date. There are a number of significant events that happened during this timeline, so let's get started on them. So in 1868, there was the Meiji Restoration, I think that's how you say it, and that was the start of Imperial Japan. In 1894, Japan won its first Sino-Japanese War, which was a conflict between the Qing dynasty and the Empire of Japan. In 1904 to 1905, Japan won in the Russian-Japanese War. This happened because they both wanted dominance over Korea and Manchuria? I don't know. In 1919, Japan takes over Germany's possessions in East Asia, who they were fighting against in World War I. In 1926, Hirohito became the Emperor of Japan, after serving regent from his father Taisho after he passed away. On September 18, 1931, the Mukden incident happened. This was a false flag event staged by the Empire of Japan. Then, in 1933, Japan left the League of Nations. This was because the League of Nations Assembly had adopted a report blaming Japan for the events of Manchuria, which we talked about earlier. In 1937, there was the Second Sino-Japanese War, and it was because of a military conflict between the Republic of China and the Empire of Japan. In 1937 to 1938, the Nanjing Massacre happened. This was the mass murder of Chinese civilians. In 1940, Japan invaded French Indochina, and it was a short, undeclared military confrontation between Japan and France in northern French Indochina. And then, in 1945, the end of Imperial Japan, which was brought on by their defeat in World War II. So now, after all that boring stuff, let's move on to geography. So Japan is actually made up of 4 islands: Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, and lastly Kyushu. So Japan is pretty well known for its very beautiful landscape, and I'm sure you all have heard of Mount Fuji. It's a really famous mountain in Japan. It's actually what this drawing is right here. But as beautiful as these mountains were, it actually reduced the farming area to less than 20% of the surface area of the land. And this was a really big deal in Imperial Japan because farming was such a big thing. And so because of the little amount of land they had for farming, they would build terraces, so series of land that were flattened out to create more farming land. And they did this by digging into the side of mountains. So Japan is also made up of numerous good harbors, which in Imperial Japan fishing was a big occupation for the lower class. And fair warning, I completely gave up on this drawing because I did not know what to do. So you have to deal with this terrible drawing right here. But anyway, yeah, so harbors and fishing, a lot of people did fishing in Imperial Japan. Alright, now moving on to culture. One of the big things that makes up culture is religion, and religion was a really big thing in Imperial Japan. During that time period, the national official religion of Japan was Shintoism, also known as State Shinto. And that basically means the way of the gods. And its belief is that there are supernatural entities in all inhabitable things. Shrines then became under the government's influence, and this encouraged citizens to worship the emperor as a kami, which was a god. This led to them keeping their emperor above everyone else. So in Imperial Japan, there were a series of class systems. Of the lower rankings was farmers and fishers, so people who farmed and people who fished. They were also known as peasants. And then above them you had merchants, so people who sold things, goods and clothing, jewelry, any sort of thing that you could really buy. And then you had craftsmen, so these were people who made things like weapons, clothing. And then at the top, you had people who were of military status. And a lot of these things in the class system were people who did work, because work was very valued in that time period and is still very valued in Japan to this day. Like working and supporting your family is a very big thing in culture there. Okay, so moving on from that, we are now going on to economy, and I'm not even going to really bother with the transition because I am so sick and tired of this project at this point. But yeah, so one of the major things that contributed to the economy was naval construction. So at the time, the Japanese Navy was third in the world behind British and American navies, and it dominated the West Pacific area before the war. Another big part of their economy was paper, the paper industry. So because ever since ancient times, Japan has been known to make many different types of paper. And as I stated a bit earlier, fishing was a really big thing in Japan, and this also contributed to the economy at the time. And like I also stated in the introduction, it was a period of time that was known for its rapid industrialization and its quick rise to dominance in the wartime economy. In that time, Japan did a lot of domestic investing, and basically that means when you invest in the companies and products of one's own country rather than in one of a foreign country. And this was said to be a big driving force behind the growth in the Japanese output. Another thing I forgot to mention was they did a lot of exportation of coal. Wait, guys, no, I got that wrong. They did a lot of coal production, okay? At least that's what Wikipedia is telling me. Gosh, I'm so good at finding reliable sources. Okay, now that past me is done rambling, I invite you to look at this very poopy looking airplane. This is another one of those pictures where I just completely gave up. I was trying to do with a nice looking landscape, and I was like, no, this ain't happening. But so this is some sort of plane in World War II or something in Japan. So that's pretty neat. Okay, now we're before final presentation. But anyway, final topic, which is politics. So ever since the Meiji Restoration, Japan has been a constitutional monarchy. And that's basically a form of government in which a monarch exercises their authority to go along with the constitution, but they are not alone in deciding things. As far as emperors go, from 1868 to 1912, Emperor Meiji reigned. From 1912 to 1926, Taisho reigned. And then from 1926 to 1947, Hirohito reigned. So, and that's who this just quite incredible looking man is right here. As far as Japan's role in imperialism, they weren't totally just all about increasing their territory. They also had a very strong ideological sense of racial superiority. Okay, now we're finally done. Oh wait, what is this? Wait, you're saying I have to connect this unit I just discussed to a complete different unit?
Oh my God!
Look, I'd love to do that, but the bell just rang, and it's time to present my project now. Goodbye. I'm gonna go cry now.